It's safe to say that Cristiano Ronaldo's Hollywood return to Manchester United has not gone to plan whatsoever. Welcome to Halftime Football, where today we're going to go over the Portuguese superstar's return to Old Trafford, how he fared, and why it eventually all went so horribly wrong. Let's start off by just taking a quick look at the deal itself. After Leo Messi's move to PSG in early August, we thought we'd seen it all in the transfer window that summer. That was until all of a sudden, towards the end of August, Cristiano Ronaldo announced that he was ready to leave Juventus after 3 years at the club, and Jorge Mendes started making phone calls. It seemed all but certain that Cristiano was about to join arch rivals Man City, but he instead opted to return to United following 13 years away from the club, which in itself was a bit of a strange decision given the status of the two Manchester clubs at the time. Either way, this only cost United around £20 million, and many fans began to get optimistic and started to believe that the glory days were truly back. And things started amazingly, as Ronaldo bagged a double on his debut against Newcastle, as well as important goals against Villarreal and Atalanta in the Champions League. However, the season progressed and things went from good to bad to worse. A 6th place league finish in a campaign that included humiliations against rivals Liverpool and Man City, a defeat in the first knockout round of the Champions League, a 3rd round EFL Cup exit, and a 4th round FA Cup exit in United's worst campaign since David Moyes took charge in 2013-14. Now time to discuss where it all went wrong for Ronaldo, and the most obvious thing to say is that the team around him were absolutely disgraceful. Ronaldo went from Modric, Benzema, Chiellini and Dybala to the likes of Harry Maguire, Marcus Rashford and Scott McTominay. He dealt with a lot of mediocrity around him, but he still managed to score 24 goals in 37 games, which is a really good achievement given the circumstances. Solely blaming Ronaldo for the failures of that team would be absolutely ludicrous. That dressing room has been riddled with toxicity for years, but he's not completely innocent. So let's take a look at Ronaldo himself, and truth be told, he was a complete and utter tactical disaster for both Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Ralf Rangnick. The guy is 37 now, he can't really run anymore, yet he was managed by one manager who preferred lightning quick counter-attacking football, and another who's the master of the most iconic pressing tactic in the world. This created a massive dilemma for either manager, as they couldn't drop him for both commercial and sentimental reasons. He's Cristiano Ronaldo, for God's sake. So in the end, they had to sort of build around him and change their preferred tactics just to get him in the team. This almost certainly created imbalances, as Ole and Rangnick were forced to go for a new philosophy which they certainly weren't masters of, far from it. Ralf Rangnick even came out recently and said this: "He's not a pressing monster. He's not a player even when he was a young player who was crying, shouting, 'Hooray, the other team has got the ball, where can we win balls?' The same with quite a few other players, so we had to make some compromises at one stage. Maybe we made a few too many, that's also possible." These compromises obviously affected United's performances on the pitch and set the ball rolling for Rangnick to become their worst ever manager. It's even claimed that Rangnick asked United's chief, John Murtough, that he would be happy to sell Ronaldo in the January window just 5 months after he arrived. And who knows what would have happened had the Portuguese decided to actually make his move earlier. Maybe Rangnick would have been a bit more successful. Also, despite a plethora of last-minute goals against mediocre opposition, Ronaldo totally failed to perform when the big games came around. He watched his team be humiliated on both occasions by Man City and Liverpool, did nothing against his usual favourite opposition Atletico Madrid, and missed a penalty which ultimately led to United being knocked out of the FA Cup by Middlesbrough. One thing he did achieve in these games though were incredible shows of unprofessionalism, as he lashed out with absolutely horrendous challenges against Curtis Jones in the 5-0 defeat to Liverpool, Kevin De Bruyne in the 2-0 defeat to City, and even little old Ryan Fraser when they drew with Newcastle. Of course, referees were scared to send him off despite the severity of his challenges, but it epitomised Ronaldo's petulance and how horrible he can be when things aren't going his way. Other highlights include spitting towards Anthony Elanga, slapping an autistic kid's phone out of his hand and breaking it alongside injuring the kid, storming down the tunnel on several occasions, and even throwing his hands around like a child when his teammates let him down rather than encouraging them. Ronaldo said in January, "If I give you advice, even if you're younger than me, if you don't implant that during your daily life, it will be difficult. They don't accept that if you criticise them. I don't say this in relation to our players, but in general." See, I get his point, and he's pretty spot on about the new generation, but if your version of criticism is throwing your hands around, making yourself seem superior and like they're mere mortals, how's that going to help them in any way whatsoever? I don't see why anyone would look up to modern day Ronaldo. Great player, player, yes, but he's become a whiny, unprofessional child. Even now, he's skipping United's pre-season training and tour just to force a move, and he's reportedly really unhappy that his wages are being cut by 25% to, get this, just £375,000 a week. Now let's imagine this was Harry Maguire or Paul Pogba doing the same thing. They would be hounded out of the club and their shirts would be burned in the streets. Ronaldo, of course, though, is afforded the most special of specialist treatment. I personally think he could entirely ruin his legacy at the club with this saga, especially if he moves to someone like Chelsea. But either way, in hindsight, I really don't think he should have joined the club in the first place. The decision by United in itself was hasty. As I said earlier, they only took him because he was going to go to Man City. This took the last bit of the budget that United would have had and prevented them from signing in important positions like the defence in the midfield. They already had someone to score goals in Bruno Fernandes, and Edison Cavani as well as Anthony Martial would have been afforded several chances up top where they likely would have succeeded. Not only that, he also would have altered whatever tactical plans Solskjaer would have had for the season, as I mentioned earlier, and therefore forced game plans which did not suit what the team and manager had been utilising for nearly 4 years. Any sort of cohesion and relationships built on the pitch were disrupted as now everything had to go through Ronaldo. Players and the managers couldn't play to their strengths and it all became an utter shambles. It was generally a very unnecessary signing and it forced a lot of over-reliance on someone who's now 37. To be fair, also wouldn't be wrong to blame the Glazers and Woodward for this signing as they saw the commercial benefit of him re-signing for the club and they certainly reaped the rewards. However, even Ronaldo must be thinking to himself what could have been had he joined City, a place which much better suited his style of play. As for what's next, well, it looks like either Barcelona or Chelsea. Jorge Mendes is working on a solution and Ronaldo's now skipping pre-season training like I said, so it's pretty certain he's going to leave. He's doing it in a totally unprofessional and disrespectful manner, especially to the club that gave him the chance he needed to succeed initially, but I suppose that's just what players do nowadays. Even if he stays now, Cristiano Ronaldo has almost certainly soured his relationship with Manchester United fans, but I doubt that he really cares about anyone but himself in this situation. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy, please be sure to like and subscribe. Let me know where you think Ronaldo's going to go and how you weigh in on this whole situation, and I'll see you next time.